Hello again, and welcome back to The Happening. My name is Jorge Shaft, and I think we've been seeing a lot of what's been happening this past week already. Boris Johnson's been doing basically everything, all of it wrong, but doing stuff. We've been having the the government plans for like a new lockdown, and contingency plans they're calling it. They're going like, oh gee, we could maybe do something in like autumn or winter about these like this virus killing everyone. It's like, just say you're gonna do a new lockdown. Like, we're all ready for it. We've all accepted it's happening. We're in the third wave. What can we expect? And then finally, I was talking about Andrew Cuomo, the governor of the great state of New York in the US, and how he's a monster who's been like sexually assaulting dozens of women, which is all kinds of fun and games, isn't it? But I'm going to go and talk instead about our last story, our shortest story, and it's also our oldest story at the moment. But, well, let's just dive straight in. Belarusian athlete doesn't want to go home. Where should I start this? I think I'll start this with the oldest article I've got on this list, because this is the last story and the shortest one, but it's also the one I've got the most articles on. I've got NBC News for this, and it says, athlete from Belarus says she was taken to airport to go home after criticizing coaches. Okay. Kristina Timasuka, I hope I got that right. Kristina Timasuka, who was due to compete in the women's 200 meters on Monday in the Tokyo Olympics, said she did not plan to return to her home country. Okay. A sprinter from Belarus said she was taken to the airport against her wishes on Sunday. This would be last Sunday, after I'd done my show, annoyingly. Even more annoyingly, actually, the story is its time was 2:19 p.m., which is just an hour after the last happening. So this was actually happening while I was doing my show. But anyway, I digress. Christine, yes, no. I'm just going to call her Kristina, so just to make it easier. Kristina, who was due to compete in the women's 200 meters, told Reuters she did not plan to return to her country and that she had sought protection of Japanese police at Tokyo's airport so that she would not have to board the flight. I will not return to Belarus, she said to Reuters in a message over Telegram. The Belarusian Olympic Committee did not immediately respond to comment. So what happened? Well, according to the same article, she said she had been removed from the team due to, quote, to the fact that I had spoke on my Instagram about the negligence of our coaches. She had previously complained that she was entered in the 4x400 meter relay after some members of the team were found to be ineligible to compete at the Olympics because they had not done a sufficient amount of doping tests. Oh. Because of our girls did not fly here to compete in the 4x400 meters relay, because they didn't have enough doping tests, and the coach added me to the relay without my knowledge. I spoke about this publicly. The head coach came over to me and said that there had been an order from above to remove me. She added that she was standing next to Japanese police at the airport, and she was has reached out to a member of the Belarusian diaspora in Japan to retrieve her at the airport. Okay, that's all kinds of yikes, isn't it? What does it mean, like, for the coach, where it's like the order from above to add you to like this race that you didn't train for? Like, I can think of what that means. None of it good. Especially none of it good when you look at the past year or so of events from that country. There were huge protests in 2020 in Belarus because, the government was being corrupt again and was really mishandling the pandemic. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? And also was being really anti-democratic, and people were not getting their rights, and so a lot of people went out to the streets and they protested. There was huge kind of fights all over the streets. I mean, famously, there was this photograph that actually became a meme, but it was this photograph of like a Belarusian police officer pointing at like a woman who was like knocked out on the ground with this kind of face of like, "Hey, we should do something about this. Like we've just like knocked out a woman. What do we do?" So that's not great. A lot of those people ended up being arrested and thrown into prison, and a lot of them are still there. Yikes. But then earlier this year, there was a whole story where one of the kind of leaders of those protests took a flight from Greece to Latvia. He's like on a holiday basically. And that flight then got suddenly diverted with like a fake hijacking threat, which then it turned out came from, the Belarus secret services. Plane lands at Minsk airport, and then the cops show up and just arrested this guy, just like right in the plane, dragged him out in front of hundreds of people, which and now we don't even really know what's going on with this guy, Roman something. It's like probably suffering horrific conditions in really cruel prison. And so when you're an athlete and you get an order from Lukashenko's the president of the country, quite likely from Lukashenko, saying, "Hey, yeah, compete in this race or else, because we've been trying to cheat." And then you have the nerve to say, "Actually, I'm not okay with that. No." I mean, she's a brave woman, I'll give her that. Braver than I probably would have been. The story, however, does have a happy ending, because hey, it's been a week. It's going on there. I've got the timeline of events. I'm going to do it by article titles because time's running out. 2 days ago, Belarus athlete told by grandmother not to return. This was NBC, MS News, BBC. A sprinter from Belarus who refused her team's orders to fly home early from the Olympics has revealed she decided to flee after her grandmother warned her it was not safe to return. The grandmother called and said, "Do not come back." Yikes. But then, fortunately, Guardian have got this. Belarus athlete who refused to fly home is granted Polish visa. Christina filmed arriving at the Polish embassy in Tokyo as her husband flees to Ukraine. She received a humanitarian visa from Poland after she was threatened with being repatriated. Poland's deputy foreign minister wrote on Twitter on Monday that the Belarusian sprinter was in direct contact with Polish diplomats and had been granted a humanitarian visa to the country, where she was expected to fly later this week. And then the last story with Yahoo is Belarus Olympic athlete happy to be in safety in Poland. So this does actually have a happy ending, insofar as, she's never going to be able to return to her home country while the current political system remains. But hey, I'd said last week that the Tokyo Olympics were a bit of a mess and that, everything was going wrong with them. But I think this takes the cake. This has been definitely the biggest and most dramatic story that's been coming from the Tokyo Olympics, which has already been quite interesting. Like a bunch of countries got their first medal ever. Like San Marino got their first ever gold medal at an event at the Olympics. So being there must have been incredibly wild as everyone was cheering. But this has been the most dramatic story, I think. And good. I'm really happy it's gotten this happy ending. I hope that she and her husband will reunite either in Poland or Ukraine. Doesn't really matter. And live long, happy, healthy lives away from tyranny and oppression. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I always make a point of reading them. You could normally call the studio as well with a phone number, but I wouldn't try doing it right now because I'm actually going to be going now and, off to live my life before the government locks us all down again. But don't go away because here at Relaks Radio, we have lots and lots of different shows with lots of very talented, intelligent, smart people. They're broadcasting pretty much all the time. So I recommend you stick around and listen to those. But in the meantime, and in between time, goodbye and have a good day.